Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like something inside of you was changing before you could even see it on the outside? Not just aging, but a quiet shift in energy. For me, it started with my hair. It began to get thinner. The strands, I noticed that they felt finer, weaker, and less alive. Like my hair just didn't have the bounce that it used to have. It was almost like my body was whispering that something deeper needed support. Most people think that aging is something that just happens to us. Like it's a slow fading that we have no control over. But what if aging is actually a conversation happening inside your cells? And what if we're just now learning how to listen? This was around the time I began to learn about peptides. They're tiny signaling molecules inside the body that help cells communicate, repair, and adapt. One of the second peptides I ever started using was something called GHK-Cu. It's incredibly small, but what it may be doing biologically is surprisingly powerful. Over time, I started noticing changes. My skin texture, it felt smoother. My hair began feeling fuller, thicker, healthier. My ponytails, I could tell how thick they were getting again. I want to be fully transparent. The same time I was using these peptides, I also started HRT, hormone replacement therapy. So it could have been a combination effect of all of them. I don't know, but what fascinated me was learning what this peptide is actually doing inside the body at a cellular and energetic level. Because this is not just about appearance. It's about communication within biology. GHK-Cu is a natural occurring copper peptide that plays a role in tissue repair, collagen production, inflammation modulation, and cellular regeneration. Research shows it may influence gene expression, help support the extracellular matrix, and improve communication pathways involved in skin integrity, hair follicle function, and overall cellular resistance. But what fascinated me most wasn't just the beauty aspect. It was the realization that our biology is constantly trying to repair, adapt, and upgrade us if we give it the right signals. To understand why this matters, we have to go deeper into the mitochondria. Mitochondria are like tiny energy generators inside your cells. They create ATP, and that's the fuel that powers every biological process. This energy is produced through something called the electron transport chain, ETC. Think of it like an electrical wiring system where electrons are passed from one protein complex to another until energy is created. So copper is an essential mineral for one of the final steps in this process, a complex called cytochrome C oxidase. And GHK-Cu may help deliver copper in highly bioavailable and regulated way, which will support more efficient cellular energy production, less oxidative stress from electron leakage, improved mitochondrial signaling, better resilience under metabolic stress. So in a very simple language, it may help cells produce cleaner energy. And when energy production improves, repair capacity also improves as well. At the cellular level, GHK-Cu behaves like a messenger. Because it is such a small peptide, it could interact with receptors on the cell's surface and influence internal signaling pathways. These signals can help cells reduce inflammatory responses, activate antioxidant enzymes, improve protein repair mechanisms, and coordinate healing after stress or injury. It does not force the body to grow. It appears to guide the body towards balance, almost like reminding cells how to respond intelligently to damage. So around every cell, there is a supportive environment called the extracellular matrix. And this is made of collagen, elastin, and structural proteins that give tissues their strength and their flexibility. GHK-Cu has been shown to influence how this matrix is rebuilt, and what it does is it helps stimulate collagen synthesis, improve elastin organization, regulate enzymes that break down damaged tissue, support the formation of new micro blood vessels. This is one of the reasons people often notice changes in skin texture and their healing capacity. It also helps explain why hair follicles may function better when their surrounding environment becomes healthier. What truly elevates the importance of this peptide is its influence on gene activity. Studies suggest that GHK-Cu may affect thousands of genes involved in antioxidant defense, inflammation control, tissue regeneration, stem cell signaling, and cellular survival pathways. Inside the nucleus of the cell, genes act like instructions. GHK-Cu appears to influence which instructions are emphasized. So instead of forcing change, it may help cells choose regeneration more often than degeneration. This is one of the reasons it's being explored in longevity science. So at a cellular level, GHK-Cu appears to support the signaling process that tells cells when to regenerate, when to reduce inflammation, and when to strengthen structural proteins like collagen and elastin. It may also help influence mitochondrial efficiency, which means it could potentially impact how our cells produce and utilize energy. When you zoom out, you begin to see that no system works alone. Energy production, tissue repair, immune signaling, vascular health, and gene expression, they're all part of a living network. And GHK-Cu seems to touch multiple layers of this network. The experience people report is not always dramatic overnight transformation. It is often subtle, gradual, but deeply meaningful over time. For me, it wasn't one of those shifts where I didn't wake up one day looking different. But months later, I realized my hair, it actually felt stronger. My ponytail got thicker. My skin felt more refined. And my overall sense of vitality had quietly improved. And when your mitochondria function better, you don't just see changes on the surface, you often feel changes in mood, vitality, recovery, and overall resilience. When you start learning how peptides communicate with your biology, you stop seeing your body as something that is breaking down, and you begin to see it as something that is trying to come back aligned. For many of us, especially as we move through different seasons of life, we could start to feel like our body is working against us. Energy shifts, hormones shift, recovery takes longer, confidence can feel different, but understanding regenerative signaling like GHK-Cu opens up a new perspective. Maybe aging isn't simply decline. Maybe it's a phase that invites deeper intelligence about how we nourish, support, and communicate with our own biology. When you zoom out, it's almost poetic. A tiny molecular signal influencing the expression of thousands of genes, helping tissue remember how to repair, helping systems remember how to restore balance. It reminds us that the body isn't static. It's dynamic, adaptive, and always listening. And sometimes the smallest biochemical shift can initiate a powerful energetic and psychological transformation. So maybe the future of aging isn't about fighting time. Maybe it's about restoring communication between your cells, your energy, and the version of you that still wants to emerge. We are not just getting older, we are constantly being invited to become more aware, more intentional, and more intelligent in how we live inside our bodies. Because when your biology begins to function with greater coherence, you don't just look different. You start to feel different. You think differently. You move through life with a different level of presence and power. And sometimes one small signal at the cellular level can begin a very big transformation in who you are becoming. Thank you for joining me here at Of Moon and Mind. I'm Teresa Bustamante, and this is a deeper conversation between science, energy, and conscious reinvention. If you like this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe. Love you guys. Bye.